This video is brought to you by my game, Dudeling's Arcade Sports Ball. Control the ball, score points, and achieve victory in a mashup of Pong and Foosball. Available now on Steam and itch.io. This week, we got insight into the most played games for the Steam Deck, and we'll dig into May's legitimately shocking Steam hardware survey results. Plus, we'll deep dive into why Team Fortress 2 was trending on the Hellsite this week, and we'll talk about the new feature that's coming to Steam that I've been asking for years. All of this and more today. So let's get right into the news. So Valve has announced the most played games on the Steam Deck for May, and it's not often we see such a meteoric rise of a single game to the top of the list. But this month, we saw Hades 2, the game that stealth dropped on the same day as my game, and Hades 2 rocketed to the top of this list and has sat there for the entire month of May. Now, it is important to note that most of the other games on this list have been on this list for a while, but let's go over it real quick because there is another interesting entry at least. Number 2 is Fallout 4, then we have Stardew Valley, we have Hades, which is the original, and it has risen up the charts as well. Then there's Baldur's Gate 3, Balatro, Elden Ring, Fallout New Vegas, Diablo 4, Helldivers 2 is still on this list. Then we have Fallout 76, Cyberpunk 2077, Vampire Survivors, Grand Theft Auto 5, Skyrim, The Binding of Isaac Rebirth, and then we come to Animal Well, which we'll talk about more in a minute. Then there's Slay the Spire, Ghost of Tsushima, and finally Monster Hunter World. Animal Well, let's talk about that for a minute because I have been playing the heck out of this month on my Steam Deck. It's such a refreshing departure from the tried and true Metroidvania mechanics, which can feel a little stale depending on what game you're actually playing. But Animal Well also provides a perfect example of everything that I love about this genre. I've played the heck out of this along with a few other titles this month, and it has been absolutely refreshing and a totally new experience in the Metroidvania genre, so I highly recommend Animal Well. So 2 weeks ago, we talked about Humble's fully loaded Night Dive FPS Remasters collection, and I have to say that I snapped it up before I was even done writing that script because it was very exciting to me. I've been playing Sin over the last week, and it has transported me back to when I was a kid, playing games that I probably shouldn't have been playing. Well, as of recording, there are only 6 days left to pick up this bundle, and right now, the cost of Turok 3 alone is more than the minimum purchase price of this game, which is what convinced me to buy this in the first place, despite already owning 4 out of the 9 games on offer here. A purchase of at least $20 will net you Turok 3 Shadow of Oblivion, which is verified, Rise of the Triad Ludicrous Edition, which is verified, Power Slave Exhumed, which is verified, Doom 64, which is playable, Turok 2 Seeds of Evil, which is verified, Forsaken Remastered, which is ProtonDB Platinum, Blood Fresh Supply, which is ProtonDB Gold, Turok, which is playable, and Sin Gold, which is playable. Now, I've been having a blast here with these games, and being a huge fan of Night Dive already, the work that they do lovingly restoring these classic shooters, I mean, it really makes this bundle a no-brainer if you appreciate these kind of games. As always, picking up this bundle helps support charity, and if you use my affiliate link below, you'll be helping out this show at no additional cost to you. So thanks. So you might have seen that Team Fortress 2 was trending on Twitter this week. Well, that's because TF2 has been under siege by bots for a while now. Valve hasn't done anything to combat the bots in years, and the game is basically unplayable for diehard fans. Now, Valve hasn't had much of an interest in TF2 for a very long time, and it shows. But now the community is fed up, and TF2 players are coming together to demand action from Valve. And while I really do sympathize with them, I think that they're asking for the wrong thing here. They want Valve to save TF2, but it's clear that Valve has very little, if even no, interest in the game whatsoever. So let's say that some Valve employee acquiesces to the community's demands, pushes an update that breaks bots and bans all of the accounts using them. It would only be a matter of time before bot makers fix the code and re-implement the bots in the game, and the community has to rally again to have Valve fix the bot problem. So instead of that, why not just very politely ask Valve to just open source the game? Let the community of passionate fans take over and push regular updates that could nip the bot problem in the bud on an ongoing basis. I mean, that would be ideal, right? And it's not like Valve's making money from TF2, and it's not like they care about the game at all. And if any company was going to do it, it would be Valve, right? So come on, Valve, save TF2 and open source the game. It doesn't have to be the full source engine code, though that would be really cool as well, but it should be enough to give the community the tools that they need to keep the game alive and playable. Otherwise, someone's just gonna have to give TF2 the Ship of Harkinian treatment. Now, speaking of Valve taking action, do you remember when I said that I think Valve needs to add video recording features to Steam and the Steam Deck? I made a video about it about a month ago. Well, it turns out that that's in development, and it's actually pretty far along by the looks of it. What's more, it looks really cool, like way cooler than I had imagined. This comes from the XPaw on Twitter, and this is the guy who runs SteamDB. According to his tweet, quote, "Steam is still working on clip recording. It supports background recording, includes timeline markers in supported games for various events. Clips can be shared similar to screenshots via the Steam community." Now this is neat, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. I'm especially curious how the API is going to be implemented for telling Steam when certain events happen in the game, and I will definitely be adding this to Doodlings when it becomes available. Now, being able to easily find certain gameplay moments and clip them, that would be sick. But I'm curious what you think about this. Are you into this idea? Do you think it's a good feature to add to the Steam Deck? Feed the engagement algorithm and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And while you're down there, let YouTube know you want to see more videos just like this by liking that smash button. You can also get subscribed so you can stay up to date with all the latest stuff we're doing here on the channel. And did you know that I have an email newsletter? It's true, you can get monthly updates for all things Heavy Element, including sneak peeks of upcoming Doodlings content, exclusive behind the scenes videos, and more. You can use the link below to sign up. So Moonlight 6.0 just had an exciting release for Steam Deck OLED players. But you might be wondering what Moonlight actually is. Moonlight is an open source PC client for NVIDIA's GameStream, as well as for Sunshine, which is the open source alternative to GameStream. It offers hardware accelerated video decoding on all major platforms, H.264, HEVC, and AV1 codecs, 7.1 surround sound, 10-point multi-touch support, and more. So what's new with Moonlight 6.0? The biggest improvements are HDR is now supported on Steam Deck and other HDR-compatible Linux systems. And Vulkan video decoding of H.264, HEVC, and AV1 is now supported using the Vulkan renderer. But there's also improved system support, a huge number of bug fixes, and platform-specific upgrades with this release. All in all, it's great to see awesome open source apps like this have releases so frequently. Makes you wonder why we even rely on proprietary software in the first place. So the latest numbers on the Steam hardware survey just dropped, and they are extremely interesting. Now, I've been maintaining a spreadsheet which roughly approximates the number of monthly active users on Steam, and it converts the hardware survey's relative numbers into real figures. And the reason I did this is because Valve doesn't release hard numbers with the survey, so we don't really know how many monthly active Steam users there are. I'm kind of approximating my number from the last time that they told us, which was like 2020. What the hardware survey provides is relative numbers. So essentially, analysis here boils down to how fast one category of statistics is growing or shrinking compared to each other. With that being said, when we're talking about 1%, you need to really consider what that means. According to my estimates, 1% literally means millions of Steam users, plural. Even 1/10 of 1% represents over 250,000 users on Steam. We made an assumption on this spreadsheet that there were 190 million Steam users in October of 2022, and this is based on data that's available to us from sources online like Backlinko. Since that time, we've factored in an average growth rate of about 16% year over year, meaning that our estimates assume that there's some 250 million users on Steam in May. So assuming that this 250 million monthly active user number is in the ballpark, we can make some assessments here. For example, there are just shy of 6 million Linux users using Steam, and only 3.6 million macOS users. Think about that for a second. There are over 2 million more Linux users than there are macOS users. There are also about 2.7 million Steam Deck users based on the number of Steam Deck GPUs in the hardware survey. Now, I'm factoring in both AMD Van Gogh and the AMD custom GPU 0405, which should approximate the actual number of Steam Decks in use. But think about that. In 2.5 years, the Steam Deck is about 60% the number of macOS users. That's incredible. But what's more surprising, or perhaps, I guess maybe not surprising, is that Linux users on the hardware survey didn't just break the 2% mark for the first time since the Steam Deck's release. We absolutely smashed the 2% barrier. We jumped from 4.6 million users in April to 5.7 million in May. Now that's 1.1 million more Linux users in a sudden jump on this report. Now, it couldn't have only been the Steam Deck's growth, even though it was very strong, where the Steam Deck saw 30% growth month over month. Linux, however, jumped 45% overall. Now, could it be Microsoft's eagerness to cram Skynet into Windows 11? There's a strong case for that. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on what caused Linux to grow so strongly in the last month. Leave me a comment and let me know. I'd love to hear your take on this. Now, that's all the news that I wanted to cover this week. If you enjoyed this video, you should definitely check out this one, where I go over the features that the Steam Deck still needs, and we can cross the third one off that list. Thanks to all my patrons for their support for this show. You can pledge your support with the links below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.